Welcome. This is a brief introduction to the osfr package. It allows you to interact with OSF.io, the Open Science Framework, data sharing, data publishing, and data storage platform. If you don't know about it yet, there's another video on the QStep YouTube channel. Have a look before looking at this particular introduction. I start by giving a conceptual overview what the osfr package allows you to do. So think about the three steps or three aspects of using OSF. On the one hand, you have your computer and the code on your computer. Then you have OSF, where you want to put, for example, your R code for backup, with version control, for transparency, for sharing, using a stable URL, for having a change log of the things that you might have changed over the time of a project or a thesis or any research that you've done. But often enough, you also want to use the data, the R code, the materials that you've put up on OSF again on your own computer. And this is where osfr-package is really coming in handy. It has three workhorse functions. As you would imagine, an OSF upload function to get files onto OSF, an OSF download function to do the reverse, and then an additional function to make your folders on OSF. You can also create the whole OSF project, the whole web page with wiki, with storage area, with the log from the osfr package. But I recommend not to do this because, for example, you won't be able to set your server preferences. So three workhorse functions: uploading, downloading, and making your folders on OSF. And the nice thing is you can use these right out of your R script. So you can have an R Markdown file, for example, that runs all your code, you work on it, and then the last part of it, well, is you uploading everything that you've just done onto OSF. Likewise, you could have at the beginning of an R file an OSF download function, which allows you to get your data straight from OSF, rather than from your computer. This might be handy when you want to make sure that you're using the most current version of the data. Particularly in share and projects where you do a lot of data sharing, this might be a very good aspect of this. Some of you might have heard of GitHub or used GitHub. This is a very simplistic version of doing something that GitHub allows you to do as well. Storing in the cloud with version control, doing so stable, and doing so in a way that it makes it easy to collaborate. There are, however, a few slight complications. The first one is, well, you need to tell R, specifically the function in the osfr package, that it's you and it's your OSF account. So you need to log into osfr-io. Then you need to know where to upload things to. You need to have an address where things need to go. And likewise, you need to know where things are coming from. So you need to be able to tell the osfr package, well, this is the file in that specific location that I want to download. You're not clicking on it, you're using an R function that you write down in the usual R code. So you can't just go and click. And finally, you need to know something about file paths on your computer when you upload or download something. This is done through three functions. As you would imagine, there is an authentication function, osfauth, which allows you through a so-called access token to get into your OSF account. You need to do this at the beginning of any R session that uses the osfr package, but once you've done it, it's open to you. It's like having the key to your data storage. To get the address where to upload things, as in which project and which folder may be in that project, you can use a function that's called osf-retrieve node. This retrieves basically the address to where you upload the data from your computer. The mirroring function is list files or ls files, which gives you the addresses of each file that is on OSF on that specific project that you just accessed. Now, let's look at all of this and more practical steps. Let's look at the R syntax and look at uploading one specific folder. Well, the classic setup, you have to load the library osfr. If you haven't got it on your computer, you need to obviously install package osfr. And then you need to use the OSF authentication function. It takes a string, which is the token, lots of numbers and letters, and then you can use osfr to upload and download files. Where do you get that access token from? This is the one thing that you need to do yourself on the OSF webpage. Here is the picture of mine. You go to the settings under your account name, and then you find a menu option, personal access token, and then you can create a token. You need to save it and write it down. You can only create it once, and it's like a pin. It's like a pin for a bank card, so you need to keep it safe, and you should keep it hidden. Throughout this introduction, you will not see my access token, because that literally would give you access to my whole OSF account, and therefore to all my data and all my projects. Once you've gone done, once you have opened OSF for yourself using the authentication function, you can now go and upload something. We have to start by getting the address where things can be uploaded. This is done through the retrieve node function, and it takes a number and letter combination, as you can see here, at the last bit here, the green bit at the end. And this number and letter combination you find when you look at your project webpage. It's the end of the URL. And it's just a section, this little stable URL, so random numbered letter combination. We used 8U7MR for our test project in the introduction to OSF that you also find on YouTube. This address now contains everything in the project. This also includes subfolders and all files. For the moment, for an empty project or for one that only takes individual files, it has only one place, namely the place where you can upload data and syntax straight away. I include the address object that I've created in my OSF upload function, and then I use this address, this file path of a folder. Here, this is my folder for original data. It's always a good thing to back up your original data. So you've got some data, that's the version that you're using to build everything from the original data. I have a folder that's data original, and I tend to back that up on OSF, even for projects that I don't make. Let's go now to the address for download. It starts the same way. If you want to download something, you first need to get the normal address that we just got also for uploading. So you see here in the first line a object address, which is exactly the same as before. But the second step is now to say, what are actually all the files that are under this address? The files available, I might create an additional object here, and this list file function now tells R that there's several files and not just the project address, not just the place where something is. And now we can say OSF download, go to the list of files available and download the folder data original. In file available, it will find then, the OSF download function will find in file available the address where this folder data original is and downloads it for you. In case there are more than one file or folder, you can use the filter function from the tidyverse set of packages to select the specific folder or specific file before using the OSF download function. Slightly silly here, you see in the first line OSF list files, get the address of all the files. Then we filter for just the name data original and we feed that to the OSF download function. This would only download the data originals folder or files therein. And you can use this to very specifically download only one file. Otherwise, you often end up downloading the whole OSF project folder. One note on file paths. Ideally, I recommend you run osfr codes like the upload and the download function in an R Markdown document. An R Markdown document automatically sets a working directory. And that means that if the files are either in your working directory or in a subfolder from it, the file path becomes very simple. For the working directory, it's just a full stop and a /, and that is followed by the folder or file name that you're interested in. In the example that I've given here, I had a subfolder called data rig, and you see how very simple that file path is. And this way, osfr knows straight away what to upload. Otherwise, you would have to find the whole file path, which you can do in Windows Explorer or Mac Finder. But this is by far the easiest and, I should also say, most reproducible way of finding file paths, using file paths, particularly in the context of the osfr package. Let's put it all together. This is a very brief version of saying, get the library, get your authentication token, get the address to the OSF project that you're interested in, to which you now can upload something. You can download something by using that address to find all the files, put them in a file available object, and then use that to download that object again. Well, that's a lot of code, you would say, for something that you could quickly do with click and drop or pushing into a Dropbox. Well, the nice thing is, the whole process, once you've written it down once, is there. You don't have to repeat it 500,000 times. You can tell someone what you have done. You can copy and paste it many times and scale it up this way for many files. And you can build it into your R projects. So you can have at the end of your R Markdown file, as I said already at the beginning, you can have this bit of code that allows you to immediately back up your project to OSF, share it this way, but also have the crucial version control and the log of what you have changed. And this brings me to the end. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this little tutorial. All of this is part of the Glasgow University Q-Step Center. If you're more interested in quantitative methods and in the social sciences, please check out the Glasgow Q-Step Center. The URL is here at the bottom, or just Google it. And I hope you enjoyed this. Bye-bye.